Very good afternoon. It's a Thursday. I don't know about you. I find that the Easter break has sort of messed up my brain, which doesn't take much. Let me tell you. I think it's just soaked with whiskey, and that's not so bad. South Australia's McCourt family has emerged as the surprise buyer of two vineyards in the state's Florio Peninsula region. Now, the McCourt family's Woke Wine Station has purchased the 530 hectare Jim's Block and Sid's Run vineyards. Health Star rating information will soon be compulsory on all packaged food in Australia. Now, unfortunately for the olive industry, the system fails to take into account the science-backed nutritional benefits of extra virgin olive oil, ranking it as a less healthy option than refined products such as sunflower and canola oil. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, in fact, just around the corner. Vets are calling for better access to e-scripts via regional pharmacies to ease the pressure on the animal health sector as transport costs mount due to the fuel crisis. Victoria's firefighters have called on the Allen government to fund AI bushfire detection cameras in the upcoming budget after this year's catastrophic fire season burned right across Victoria. And we'll talk to John Houston about that later in the hour. Tasmanian seaweed farmers have been given a vote of confidence, with major beef producers now signing up to their livestock supplements. Floating their business on the Australian Stock Exchange has delivered an injection of cash and a vote of confidence in the game-changing work of Tasmania's seaweed farmers, notably the company Sea Forest. And that's ingenuity. That's putting their, using their feet for dancing, the brain for thinking. Well done too. This month's Nullarbor muster, by the way, the Nullarbor muster has been cancelled because of rising fuel costs and low ticket sales. Next up, we'll talk about olive oil and extra virgin olive oil, and we'll find out where the government has sort of gone wrong. And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company. Dr. Michael Southan joined the Australian Olive Association as CEO in April 2021. Now he brings over 20 years, he brought over 20 years experience in the agriculture and the grains industry. He has a PhD in agricultural chemistry and an expert on crop quality in grain. Also practical experience in agriculture as the owner of a mixed farm in New South Wales, and that's where he grazes beef, cattle and sheep, as well as growing crops and nut trees. Now, we're going to talk today with Michael about the Australian olive industry and how it's faring in the current environment, and about, I think, which is a most ridiculous thing, that they're saying it's not as healthy as the processed oils are. Dr. Michael Southan, thanks for joining us. I didn't think you could get anything more healthy than extra virgin olive oil. Where's this gone wrong?
Hi, Mike. Yes, look, it's very interesting in the process of developing a system to help consumers identify which particular edible oils are healthy. The system is too simple to really identify all the health benefits associated, especially with extra virgin olive oil. So one of the fantastic things about extra virgin olive oil is that it has these compounds that we broadly call phenolic compounds, but they impart tremendous health benefits to our heart, to our circulatory system, to our joints, to our brain. And really they underpin the benefits of the Mediterranean diet that we hear so much about, and that it is so good for us. So a lot of that comes from the great oils that are in fish, but also the great oil associated with olives being extra virgin olive oil. Unfortunately, the Health Star rating system that the government is looking to mandate doesn't identify or look at those health benefits. What it's looking at is the actual fat itself. And because you have some seed oils that are straight monounsaturated fats, and generally we would regard an unsaturated fat as being healthier than a saturated fat, it's actually saying that those seed oils are healthier than extra virgin olive oil without taking into account all the benefits of these polyphenols that extra virgin olive oil has. But extra virgin olive oil has a little bit of these other polyunsaturated fats. So on a fat to fat comparison, it's not quite the same. But when you look at the total product, the total food, it's a much better product, much healthier.
It is indeed, and I couldn't stand having the other stuff. I love mine on my salads and my spaghetti, and oh, it's magnificent. How do we fix it then? How do we? Well, I suppose we could say, broadly speaking, how do we tell the truth?
Yeah, so look, I think one of the things I would implore government to do is to really think hard about the system and where it clearly works and clearly gives good guidelines for consumers, that's fine. But where there are areas where it might be missing out on really identifying health benefits, such as we just talked about with extra virgin olive oil, exclude those products from the system at this stage until we have something that is better, that does identify these health benefits, because we don't want to confuse or, even worse, mislead consumers into using a product that's not as good for them as another. And there is a real concern that there could be misleading information consumers are picking up from this Health Star rating, because it's not providing the full story. So I'd ask the government people just to review what products they would be looking to take under the mandatory system at this stage. And certainly from our perspective, we think olives and olive oil should be exempt, because the Health Star rating system is just not picking up on all the fantastic health benefits that, if you talk to the medical practitioners, you talk to the nutritionists, they know that it's a much better product for you health wise than a lot of the other edible oils.
Let's talk about the industry itself. How healthy is the Australian olive industry?
Well, look, it's actually quite healthy at the moment. It's really pleasing to see an industry, and I'm really glad to be part of it, that is actually going forward nicely. So one of the great things we've seen is just an increase in interest in growing olives. As we know, the olive tree comes from the Mediterranean region, and we're full of Mediterranean areas and environments in Australia. So growing the olive tree fits very nicely with our system, and so therefore it's a great alternative in horticulture to diversify where, particularly on a larger scale, where there is an opportunity to put these trees in where it's clearly a Mediterranean environment, ideally where there's water, so the trees can be irrigated. Many people think, oh well, olive trees, they're drought hardy. They'll grow no problems through a drought. They won't die in a drought, but they won't produce fruit in a drought. So we do need to water them to make them productive, so that they will bear fruit. And they're an ideal product to use and to be part of a diversified farming system.
Yeah, I recall when I was at college, we used to use it to enhance our suntan. Isn't it terrible?
Well, I'm not touching on how old you might be, Mike, but
Anyway,
back in those days, I suspect that the quality of extra virgin, or the quality of olive oil, wasn't extra virgin olive oil.
no.
So maybe the best thing we did with it was to use it as a suntanner addition. But look, the great thing now is that it is such a fantastic food product, and anyone who uses it knows that there's such a range of flavour. There's such a range of different styles of extra virgin olive oil, from the really robust catch in the back of your throat, make you cough style, through to the really much more fruity, olive oils, extra virgin olive oils, and the whole range in between. And if there's so many uses for it, as you say, in salads. But look, I cook. If I'm cooking meat and just shallow frying, I use extra virgin olive oil. I don't necessarily use the best stuff I've got, but I will use that to cook my meat in because it's ideal for it. One of the things that consumers get confused about, think, oh, what about smoke point? Olive oil has a lower smoke point. It doesn't. It doesn't have a smoke point that affects the health aspect or the flavour of your food, and that's been shown to be the case. If you heat it up very higher than what we would normally use for cooking, yes, it will smoke, but so will a lot of the other oils as well. And also, I challenge people. Well, if we like char grilled meat on the barbecue, there's a fair bit of smoke being produced when we cook those products. So I wouldn't be worried. It's not. If anything, it adds flavour. But really, if we're cooking under the proper conditions, there won't be any smoke produced when we're using extra virgin olive oil in our cooking.
That's right. And if it's a bit smoky, you do what all Aussies do: a couple of beers to wash that away.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be good beer either. Hey, what are some of the key challenges that are facing your industry at the moment?
Well, certainly the health star rating is one of the key ones for us at the moment. But look, one of the challenges we still have is getting across to consumers. And look, it's happening really well. There's no doubt consumers have a much better understanding of the health benefits of extra virgin olive oil now than they did, say, 10, 20 years ago, for sure. But really, it's really people go into the supermarket, they'll look at the range of edible oils and they'll see that extra virgin olive oil might be more expensive than a seed oil. But we want them to understand that there's a reason for it being more expensive. It is a better product. It's a premium product. It has more health benefits associated with it. But really, you're choosing a product that is better for you in the long run. One of the interesting things we saw is that a couple of years ago, there was a significant drought in the Northern Hemisphere. And in Australia, we produce about half of the extra virgin olive oil that we consume. The other half we import. And most of that imported product comes from Spain and other Mediterranean countries. Because there was a drought in the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of that product wasn't available, and certainly the prices went right up through the roof. We saw a price rise here in Australia with a local product, but it wasn't as much as what they experienced overseas. What it did, though, it certainly, I think, pushed people who would normally buy what would be seen as the cheaper imported extra virgin olive oil to the local product, and they discovered that the freshness and the flavour of the Australian product was terrific. So that as the Northern Hemisphere has come out of that drought and supply has sort of returned more to normal, there has been a dropping of price, but not back to where it was. So there's been a new level set, and I think because we've got a new range of consumers that have identified and discovered the local product and are happy to buy it and understand what they're getting for that product. So the challenge for us as an industry, I think, is to keep pushing that this is a product that is a premium food product. And throughout my whole career, I've been really interested in seeing agricultural products as food, not just as commodity. And that was always a challenge for me in the grains industry, was that they talk about grains as a commodity. Whereas very clearly with extra virgin olive oil, we're talking about a food. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed with this industry is that it's the only food, extra virgin olive oil is the only food that has an Australian standard that clearly defines chemically and through sensory assessment what that product needs to be called extra virgin or just olive oil or pomace oil, which is the very bottom of all the grades. So I think that continuing that education, disseminating that information to people so they really understand why extra virgin olive oil is so good for them. And I'm not just saying that because I'm part of the industry. It actually nicely fits within my whole ethos, within my thinking in terms of what we should be looking for in agriculture. And in Australia, we're so lucky we can produce high quality food, and there's no doubt We're right up there when it comes to extra virgin olive oil. We produce some of the best quality product in the world, and it's fresh. So I just encourage people to try it and to discover for themselves how wonderful it is.
It's interesting with just the olive tree itself. If you were to visit Melbourne, I don't know about now, but go back 20 years. I mean, every second house had an olive tree, and you would have thought that the gum tree was not the native tree, that the olive tree was, because every house had it and just grew. But if you go into a business that you have to basically wait, I think, for about 3 to 5 years before they start doing olives. Same thing with avocados. You've got to wait for a fair while before you can start picking them. Is that a setback to you, or is that a deterrent, do you think, to people wanting to move into this industry? Or is it just, and it is just part of it because you can't do much about it. But it's sort of wondering what you do between planting the trees and twiddling your thumbs before you can start picking. It's a fair wait, isn't it?
It is, and unfortunately, that's the case with most perennial tree crop horticultural industries. But it's not that long, and certainly there are opportunities for people to buy existing groves that are already producing. There's always groves on the market, but look, I think it's just part of. I mean, we grow hazelnuts on our place, and they take longer than 3 to 5 years to bear any sort of quantities. So it's just part of being in a perennial tree crop industry. But that's why it fits so nicely, I think, into a mixed farming system. Just providing that diversification and allowing people to carry on with other activities while they're waiting for their olive crop or olive trees to mature. One of the great things, though, is that once they start bearing, you've got them for a very, very long time. And you've not only got the trees, but you'll have to prune the trees to keep them productive. The wood of an olive tree is very dense, and it also grows more quickly than people realise. So when you prune the trees and you've got the large limbs left, it actually makes very nice firewood for those that like their slow combustion fires. But the pizza parlours and the little Italian pizza joints love olive wood to use in their wood-fired pizza ovens. So there's all sorts of things you can do with the olive trees, not just with the olives themselves.
It's a pretty decadent lifestyle too, I would have to say. If you're following the European tradition, gallons of red wine. It doesn't have to be that great, and plenty of pizzas. You've got to have your olives. Got to use the oil, and strangely enough, they live to be a very, very ripe old age. So there is something to be said. My mum used to say the difference between those that smoked and drank and those that didn't is that those that didn't smoke or drink died healthy. And it's a very true thing. So it's all about enjoying life too. Now, if somebody wanted to have a chat to you or find out more about the olive industry, how do they do that?
Look, they can contact us directly through our website. It's Australian Olive Association. If they look at that up, they'll find us. We're currently running a number of field days and workshops around the country. So next week I'll be in South Australia running a field day and also a processing workshop. But we're happy to run, where there's interest, we'll run field days. We've got what we call a Back to Basics course. And that's really to help people who are new to the industry to learn a bit more about it so that they can make more informed decisions when it comes to selecting the sites they might want to plant trees, selecting varieties, just knowing what's ahead of them, because it's not an easy process to grow olive trees. There's a lot more involved than probably people realise. I mean, one of the other things I'm really keen to see are what I call the professional farmers, the broad scale farmers get more involved, so we get that scale, because there's a lot of boutique olive growers that do some fantastic things, but some of them come into the industry, I think, without that's basic information, which makes it maybe not easier, but at least they know what they're getting themselves in for. So I just encourage people to look us up, give us a call, and we can let them know where we might be running a course or provide them, to the information. There's tons of information on our website. So, we're more than happy to help.
A friend of mine lives in Marrakesh in Morocco, and he's a journalist, and I always say he should never be a farmer. Anyway, he's giving it a go. He's planted all these olive trees. But he realised that it takes a few years before he can start to make some money from it. So he's not all that impressed. I think he's partaking of a few drinks at the moment, just to wash away the woes of waiting for Mother Nature to let him make some money. Michael, it's a real pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate your time, and we should do this again because I think it's a government furphy at the moment. Now, not intentional, of course. This time we can say it's not intentional. However, we need to get our act together if we're advising on people's health. Dr. Michael Southan there, thank you very much for your time. Coming up next, we'll talk about probably the future of Australia, prosperity-wise. This is the Country Telegraph.
There's around 17,000 level crossings around Australia, many of these on country roads like the one behind me here. They have no lights or boom gates.
We are saying this needs to change, and we want mandatory legislation introduced to ensure that all trains have safety lighting. This issue affects all Australians, and we know that people that are from metropolitan areas are at greater risk of a crash with a train because they're expecting full controls in place that they're just not going to get in regional areas where these level crossings are protected only by signage.
In Australia, there's strict lighting requirements for trucks, buses, cars, even bicycles. But when it comes to Australia's biggest land vehicle, trains, there are no mandatory standards in place, and this anomaly really needs to be corrected.
When approaching a railway level crossing, especially those without lights or boom gates, drivers must exercise caution and must always check that it is safe to cross. But a driver can't give way to a train they can't see.
The rail industry is very profitable, powerful and protected. We have a unique situation where the Rail Industry Safety and Standards Board is owned and controlled by rail operators. So they have the power to put commercial interests before public safety.
By law, trucks must have marker lights that clearly show their full length, width and height from every angle, day or night. If a truck doesn't meet these lighting rules, it can't legally be on the road. If it's good enough for trucks, it's good enough for trains.
If those changes had been made back then, we would still have our family members today. Instead, we have to watch on while other families go through these completely preventable tragedies. Something as simple, as cheap and affordable as a beacon light could have saved 3 precious, beautiful lives in our particular crash.
Over the years, there's been far too many tragedies at level crossings around Australia. And on behalf of the many families and communities affected, I really do appeal to our government and to industry to support mandatory safety lighting on all trains.
Authorised by Lara Jensen, Mount Magnet.
And thanks for joining us. This is the Country Telegraph. I'm Mike Ryan. Dr. Alan Moran is Principal of Regulation Economics. He is a noted economist who has analysed and written extensively from a free market perspective. Now, Alan is was the director of the Deregulation Unit at the Institute of Public Affairs from 96 to 2014. He was previously a senior official in Australia's Productivity Commission and director of the Commonwealth's Office of Regulation Review. Alan was educated in the UK and has a PhD in transport economics from the University of Liverpool and degrees from the University of Salford and the London School of Economics. We're going to talk to Alan today about what our policy settings should be to sort of lift us out of the current role and the current hole that we've dug over several decades. Alan, thanks for joining us. We need your microphone turned on, Alan. There's that little button that says, turn me on. So what I might do is, while Alan's just finding that button, no, we still haven't got you. So what I might do is just swing over to this and we will come back to Alan in just a second. We're just trying to get his audio back. After Alan, by the way, we're going to head to Victoria and talk to a guy, John Houston, about the CFA and about all the hiccups they have at the moment. And also talk about their proposal that they use AI to help detect bushfires and stuff. We'll come back to Alan Moran very shortly, fingers crossed.
G'day, Troy Casadale here. I've been travelling around this country playing music for more years than I'd like to remember. I've spent a lot of time on stage, but I reckon I've spent more time on the roads getting to gigs. And honestly, I've seen worse behaviour on the roads than I've seen at any concert of mine, and often from people who have years of experience behind the wheel. It's probably been a while since a lot of us have really thought about our driving, so take a sec and think about what you can do to help keep yourself and others safe on the roads. Us mob are almost 3 times more likely to die in a road crash than the rest of the population. So let's change that. Drive safely. Don't get distracted by the phone or others in the car or get hot-headed or any of that stuff. You wouldn't do inconsiderate things outside a car, so why do them in one? Don't let a car change who you are. Safer driving starts with you.
What is sunburn? Sunburn is a sign that we've had too much sun. So when we get too much UV on our skin is damaged and the cells become inflamed and they become red. And that's sunburn. Sometimes it can peel, sometimes it can blister even. And it's a sign that our skin cells are damaged. And that damage in time can cause skin cancer.
What fresh produce means to me, it's seasonal. So it's at Christmas time, it's mangoes. In springtime, it's stone fruit. That's what fresh produce means to me.
Fresh food to me means food that doesn't have preservatives and stuff on it.
One of those green things.
Means healthiness, probably, like to me personally.
It means quite a lot to me because I don't want to actually have dirty food.
Health, variety.
Well, all food means everything to me.
Fresh food gives me the best food, best in nutrition and usually taste as well.
Something that doesn't come in a package of any sort, that hasn't been processed in any way beyond perhaps cutting it up.
Fresh food means healthier options, crisp flavors.
Apple!
I think food security is when you have access to a lot of food.
I think it's very important.
Just having fruits and vegetables available to us all the time, which is great.
Food security is when we have enough food for everyone.
Well, I think it means having a local source for the food. I think if COVID taught us anything is we need to be self-sufficient and not rely on imports.
Going to the grocery store and knowing that you're going to get everything that you need in one place.
Food security means having food available to everyone in WA as and when they need it, a constant supply.
I've never really thought about that actually.
I would not be happy because a lot of my meals are actually made of fruit and mostly veg actually.
Would you be sad? No, I'll have chocolate.
If we didn't have access to fresh food, we'd probably be a lot more unhealthy.
I think that would be bad. I think we'd have to rely on imports from other places where we maybe wouldn't know what sort of quality we're going to get.
You're either going to have to get it from other sources, so there's going to be price, food miles involved, or you're going to go without.
Personally, I think it'd impact me a lot because I do eat a lot of fruit and vegetables.
Well, I think a lot of businesses would go under.
Fresh food connects us all. Our food system is strong, but not invincible.
Climate, cost of production, and consumer expectations are challenging producers' profitability. Local food production is essential for food security. Food security is economic and lifestyle security.
Research that creates awareness and sparks action results in impact.
Innovation is already in the ground and growing. We're investing in smarter, more sustainable ways to grow.
It's public health. It's our shared resilience.
We invest in local food systems, we invest in our future.
This is the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company on this Thursday afternoon, about past in Victoria, Tassie, New South Wales, and Queensland. Can't forget Queensland, and I think past in Northern Territory. No, it's midday in Northern Territory, and also for South Australia, WA. It's about, I think it's 10:30, so there you are. There's some guessing going on, but I'm pretty well right. Alan Moran, thank you for joining us.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can, and you're looking absolutely gorgeous, as they would say behind the scenes. Alan, you've written recently for The Spectator about policies for prosperity. Tell us about this.
Well, I think the key thing is that we have to try to release as much as we can from. I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback here.
Yes, and I think you have that at the moment. There you are. You should be all right now. So the feedback would have gone.
Okay, gone. Yeah, we've developed these policies over the years, which are creating considerable problems generally.
We're having feedback, I would imagine.
Can we still?
You're here, from this end. You're perfectly fine.
Okay. Well, I'm getting that feedback from here. So.
Okay, what I'm going to do, Alan, if you could just bear with us. I know what your problem is. You've got two windows open at the moment. Yeah. So what I might do is just go to another quick break, come back to you, and we will get there. I'm sure we will get there. This is the Country Telegraph.
On the sunburnt banks of the mighty Murray River, there's a place where time seems to flow a little slower. It's here where the waters glisten with crystal stillness, where nature's chorus invites the liveliest silence, where in those golden hours at the break and close of day, you can spot twice as many suns shimmering in the sky. It was here in 1958 where Wyndham Hill-Smith first discovered Oxford Landing and dreamt of preserving its wonder for years to come. Today, the sixth generation of the Hill-Smith family tends to the land with the same devotion. Committed to sourcing grapes from only estate and family-owned vineyards, community remains at the heart of Oxford Landing. They've got each other's backs. They've got nature's back, driven to leave the land and future generations with as little worries as possible. There's one thing for sure. The glass is always half full at Oxford Landing. The wines here are crafted with care, fostering a hands-off approach that preserves the land's purity. In fact, these wines are all about preservation of the land, the community, and the industry itself. While the land must be preserved, its fruits are to be enjoyed today. They are to be sipped slowly and shared generously, along with cherished company. As you savour the vibrant serenity and fresh flavours of the region, take a moment to put your feet up and let time flow by.
10 years ago, Aussie Dairy made a promise. A promise to protect our environment. A promise to provide the best care for our animals. A promise to build a healthier Australia. Since then, we've become global leaders in sustainable dairy production. But we won't stop there. We're taking action every day by putting initiatives in place across our entire dairy industry, because we promise to protect what matters most.
How do I check my skin? What am I looking for? And what do I do if I see a spot on my skin that I'm worried about? It's really important to check your skin and be aware of what's on your skin. You're the best judge, so you know what's on it and what's new or changing or different. We tell people to check their skin at the change of every season, so about 4 times a year. And make sure you do it systematically. So start at the places you can see and maybe ask a friend or someone at home to check your back, places you can't see. You're looking for things that stand out, that are different to their neighbours, that are growing or changing with time. And sometimes skin cancers will be tender or they'll be bleeding, but not always. So if there's something strange on your skin, make sure you go to your doctor and get it checked.
No matter who you are, you'll find a place to belong here.
Join Lions and help shape a community we're proud to call home.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. All sorts of things. Now John's disappeared. All sorts of things happening at the moment. Hopefully we can get John Houston back. Otherwise, Houston, we have a problem. Now we read in the rural press that, and today in fact, that firefighters are calling on the Allen government to invest in life-saving AI bushfire detection cameras in next month's state budget. It comes after this year's catastrophic bushfire season burned over 400,000 hectares of Victoria. Now, the cameras are described as smoke detectors for the bush, can pinpoint a blaze from 20 k's and alert authorities instantly. After witnessing its success in a recent trial, the Victorian Forestry Product Association has joined calls from CFA volunteers for the government to pay for an expanded network of cameras in the May budget. Now, our guest is John Houston, CFA Volunteers President, and at the moment I'm looking at a blue wall. So what I'm going to do is just keep talking, just to fill in the times here. And it's John Houston, by the way, does a great job. Also has some great songs that come out, and those songs in particular really represent what firefighters and CFA officials think about Victoria and the trouble they're going through. John's just dropped out too, so I'm just going to grab some razor blades and I'm going to try those. We'll come back to John Houston, I would like to think, very shortly. This is the Country Telegraph.
I don't think I'd be where I would be or where I am now without having moved to Mount Isa.
I guess if you don't get out of your bubble from wherever you live in, you don't know what else is going on around the rest of the world.
The people, the opportunity, the places you can go see, the amount of adventuring you can do around here is just unlimited.
There's community groups for just about everything. We've got most sports covered. It's like-minded people, all encouraging.
Mount Isa is all about community. It's all about building those strong connections within each other.
We went out the other weekend, we got 15, 20 people to come out for a big four-wheel drive. Everyone loved it. Like, the environment that everyone made was just good. Everyone there, everyone having a go.
You've got so much time after work finishes. The sun is up. I know people who put their speedboat in after work and go skiing.
You're able to spend a lot more time doing the things that you love when you're not having to commute so far to work every day.
You get on with everyone, everyone knows everyone, everyone's got mates everywhere. Everyone's willing to help you out too, so you won't get that in the city.
I think you just have to give it a go. You just have to take every opportunity you possibly can and make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm glad I've made the decision I did. Something about the town just brings you back.
Experience what it is like to be out here and get away from the hustle and bustle and the amazing natural beauty we have to offer out here and the fantastic people. If you're lucky, you might stay for 20 odd years.
G'day, Troy Casadale here. I've been travelling around this country playing music for more years than I'd like to remember. I've spent a lot of time on stage, but I reckon I've spent more time on the roads getting to gigs. And honestly, I've seen worse behaviour on the roads than I've seen at any concert of mine, and often from people who have years of experience behind the wheel. It's probably been a while since a lot of us have really thought about our driving, so take a sec and think about what you can do to help keep yourself and others safe on the roads. Us mob are almost 3 times more likely to die in a road crash than the rest of the population. So let's change that. Drive safely. Don't get distracted by the phone or others in the car or get hot-headed or any of that stuff. You wouldn't do inconsiderate things outside a car, so why do them in one? Don't let a car change who you are. Safer driving starts with you.
What is sunburn? Sunburn is a sign that we've had too much sun. So when we get too much UV on our skin is damaged and the cells become inflamed and they become red. And that's sunburn. Sometimes it can peel, sometimes it can blister even. And it's a sign that our skin cells are damaged. And that damage in time can cause skin cancer.
And we're back again. We hope we have Alan Moran. We're going. This is why I have to say, and Alan would agree with me, and so would John. I know I have some brothers at arms here. That's where whiskey comes very, very much in handy. But because I'm very matured, Alan, I'm going to not have a whiskey at the moment. Now let's do this properly. Australia calling Alan Moran. Are you there? No, you're not there. Can you believe it? You know, it's look. This is what go and have a scotch, anything, beer. It's just not going to work. I think your end is you've muted yourself, and whether it says microphone, if you could turn that on, we'll probably have some sort of connectivity. But it's not going to work, Alan. It's just, you know, after all these years of doing this, we've walked into a hurdle, and I don't know what to do because it's just not going to work. So I'm going to go back to full frame so Alan can scream and makes all sorts of have all sorts of mannerisms in the background, some which are quite illegal. And I'll come back to Alan later, if we do. If not, tomorrow, because Alan Moran, Dr. Alan Moran, we want to talk about Australia's prosperity, and we're not going to get there at all. So we are going to go to, in 1 second, in fact, I just got to play a quick spot, and we're going to try John Houston. And if not, I've got a bowl of glass, crushed glass to chew on. So we'll go to a commercial break. Tomorrow, hopefully, Alan Moran will join us, because it just ain't going to work. And besides, he's onto his third glass of red, so we dare not talk to him. This is the Country Telegraph.
On the sunburnt banks of the mighty Murray River, there's a place where time seems to flow a little slower. It's here where the waters glisten with crystal stillness, where nature's chorus invites the liveliest silence, where in those golden hours at the break and close of day, you can spot twice as many suns shimmering in the sky. It was here in 1958 where Wyndham Hill-Smith first discovered Oxford Landing and dreamt of preserving its wonder for years to come. Today, the 6th generation of the Hill-Smith family tends to the land with the same devotion. Committed to sourcing grapes from only estate and family-owned vineyards, community remains at the heart of Oxford Landing. They've got each other's backs. They've got nature's back, driven to leave the land and future generations with as little worries as possible. There's one thing for sure. The glass is always half full at Oxford Landing. The wines here are crafted with care, fostering a hands-off approach that preserves the land's purity. In fact, these wines are all about preservation of the land, the community, and the industry itself. While the land must be preserved, its fruits are to be enjoyed today. They are to be sipped slowly and shared generously, along with cherished company. As you savour the vibrant serenity and fresh flavours of the region, take a moment to put your feet up and let time flow by.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. You can see there's some high-tech finger crossing here. John Houston, hello.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Finally, we got there. I'm talking to somebody. I was just talking to myself before. It was getting quite. I was losing my spirit.
You were getting lonely.
I was actually. I was looking for a spirit or two. A couple of whiskies would have helped. Let me tell you. Hey, tell me about the your request that the Victorian government. And good luck on this, by the way. I wouldn't hold my breath. But what you're requesting, what you're, the AI surveillance, that would be absolutely magnificent. What's your thoughts on that? And do you think Jacinta Allen, after dishing out 15 to 30 billion to the CFMEU, do you think she'll put her hand in her pocket and help save Victoria's next fire season?
Well, maybe we need to ask the CFMEU to put the hand in their pocket, maybe.
Get back on that one.
So, no, look, it's really, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and I'm not completely all over exactly everything, but I think in a lot of cases it ticks a lot of boxes. You know, we have firefighters or spotters that are getting older demographic. Some of the towers are, past their use-by date or need a lot of money spent on them. So are we better off spending that money in other areas? And AI cameras in a lot of places, not all places, but in a lot of places tick a lot of boxes.
What about the maintenance and the operation of that? You're going to need people to most likely monitor it. So it's not just the infrastructure to set up the AI monitoring. It's also someone monitoring the system day in and day out. And the cost should not prohibit it, but will the government say it's just too expensive?
Look, that's a real possibility, unfortunately. And as we're going through these these processes are what we're trying to do and make things better. And when you're using with new technology, it becomes cheaper later on in life. So, or further along down. So, but at some point, you've got to make the rational decision. Do you put safety first, or do you put the cost first? So, it's at some point that's got to be a decision that's got to be made. But we'd like that to be made in consultation with the volunteers as well as the CFA and the government of the day.
Yeah, I just think it's, and there's an election coming up, but they're going to be looking at the areas with the most people to provide them with some sort of respite from the terrible things that are happening at the moment. Because I know there's been some unrest between your mob and the mob in Spring Street. Is that still there, or is there more of a working relationship, or do you, or what?
Well, I'd probably say there's no relationship at the moment. They're not prepared to talk to us. It's interesting that just about every other politician or party is prepared, or independent is prepared to talk to us and listen to us and understand where we're coming from. But the Labor government, they're on a ship of their own, and they're just prepared to run that gauntlet. And unfortunately, it's the people of Victoria that suffer during fires, and that fires can be in the middle of winter just as much as the middle of summer. It's just that we see a major impact because it's blasted across everyone's TV, but families do get impacted during winter as well.
What about the, let's just to get off the AI for a tick, what about your other equipment? Let's talk about the stuff that requires some sort of fuel to make you move from A to B. First of all, you have a dilapidated government, but you also have a dilapidated trucks and infrastructure. Is that going to be fixed, or are they going to still rely on you, the Hail Mary approach? Please.
Well, they're relying on the goodwill of volunteers to be able to pick up the pieces throughout the whole state and find the funding shortfalls themselves. And a lot of volunteers are paying for the little things that our brigades need, and that shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't have to volunteer our time and then also reach into our back pocket to buy things and do chook raffles and things like that just to get the little things that the brigades need to make it easier. There needs to be a conservative approach to make the whole thing better, and the government just don't want to know about it, which is the really sad part about it, because at the end of the day, we're all volunteers and with our time's just as valuable as anyone else's.
And we always hear of strikes. Now, I don't know if it's finished. I never listened to them or watch them, but the ABC, they were quite insistent that they get their pay rise and get looked after, and they all went out on strike. You guys, you'll all go to heaven. Well, most of you won't. But you do it because you love Victoria, you love your community. To make a point, you really can't go on strike that much, because if you do, the whole place will burn down. How do you get your message across forcibly without affecting the good folk of Victoria?
I think what we've got to do is just continue doing what we're doing, hitting social media and talking to the media outlets like yourself and just highlighting the situations that we're in. But also it's about educating the broader public so they understand exactly where we're coming from and why we're up in arms and why we want a better and fairer system. We're not asking for a pay rise for ourselves, and we don't necessarily think we need more money. We just need the money to be spent properly and for savings to be there. And the budget was cut. It was cut. It didn't even keep up with inflation. I think it worked out over the last 4 years. It's 200 million. We're worse off. Well, 200 million buys a lot of tankers and it fixes a lot of stations. So, if the government had kept up just with inflation, we wouldn't be in this position. So they've got no one to blame but themselves.
Maybe you need to become part of the CFMEU. You'd have all these luxurious donations. We need to send you to Hawaii to study the bushfire season there and things like that. Tell me about the last fire season. It was really bad, wasn't it? When we hear all sorts of excuses for it, as an experienced firefighter, why was last season a really bad season for fires?
I think just the conditions probably, and probably been a little bit lapsadaisy, although we did have big fires in the southwest and the Grampians the previous year. But I think it just, the pre-summer burns ain't there, the roadsides weren't slashed, and then we just had extreme conditions on a couple of days that really just tipped things right over the edge. And look, we get that. That's a cycle. It happens all the time. If you go back to the bad fires of yesterday, that happens. It's a cycle. But what we're not listening to, or not what we're not learning from, is the experience of the last ones and the things that we put in place. We have a big talk fest, but nothing ever happens. We don't simplify the system. We don't put in things that are a lot better. Our tankers were supposed to be updated at 20 years old. Well, they're stretching out. The average age is stretching out to 25 plus. So, we've got more tankers that were made in 1991 running around in our fleets than tankers that were made in 2024. It's ridiculous.
It's terrible. You'd have to wear flares to drive there, wouldn't you? Just about. I'm being a bit lax about being a bit disrespectful, but it really is. It's a shocker, and that's all you can say. I mean, you guys are risking your life. You don't want to say, well, we better depart this part of the bushfire and make a move somewhere else, and you turn the thing on and please call RACV. It's just not going to work, and they do need to look after them. And I'm sure there's some OH&S sort of issues there, because if you're driving vehicles that are buggered from the start, now they're just not going to work very well. Why don't you go to the Victorian government and make a complaint against your? It is the Victorian government. You can't do that, and they should though. They should fix it, because if you guys break down, you could very well be the next barbecue.
Well, and that's exactly right. We're putting some other steps in place around our health and safety. And if we drive around tankers that don't have the basic safety requirements, and everything moves on. A lot of people talk about, the old tankers, there's nothing better than the old tankers. Yeah, but the basic health and safety things aren't in there. Airbags, rollover protection, all the latest mod cons and air conditioning, stuff like that. So, it's just, people don't go out in their work environment and work in an environment that was 19 or 2020, 10 or whatever, or 2000. And they're working with tools and stuff that are up to date. So why should our volunteers be put in exactly that position where we're using stuff that was made in 1991 and expecting it to do the job in 2027?
We have an election coming up, so there'll be all sorts of surprises in the May budget. Looking, say, for example, if the Conservatives do get in, and if you look at the past records, they have no chance. But they might scrape it in because of the disdain and lack of trust for the current government. Are they going to be any different?
Well, we're going to hold, no matter who it is, to account. If the Liberals get in, or the Coalition get in, or whoever gets in, we've been talking to them, and we've basically said to them up front, and I've said it myself, that if you don't support us, if you support us now but don't support us after the election, then it's gloves off. We'll be doing exactly to them what we're doing to Jacinta Allen at the moment, because this is not about me. It's not about the person down the road or about them trying to do whatever they got to do. This is about the safety of all Victorians throughout the whole state, and that's FRV, that's CFA, that's everybody. We want a conservative effort that we need to make things a lot better for the firefighters, the volunteers, but especially the communities that they serve and protect.
Let's talk about the damage the fire does now. Media focuses, and rightly so, on the intensity of the fire, the damage it is doing, all that sort of stuff, which needs to be brought to our attention. It goes pretty quiet after it. Tell us what happens to a community that is ravished by fires, and how long they can look forward to before they actually get back to a decent standard of living. And talk about what it does to the bush around them and to the natural habitat.
Well, the families and the communities that have these fires, they take years and years and years to get back, and some of them just never get back to where they were. If you've got families that have lost everything or lost bloodlines throughout their livestock or whatever, that you can never replace that. So a lot of people take probably those things to their grave, and that's not everyone. There's Victorians or humans are a very resilient lot, but there are some people that it's just too hard to get over. But the damage to the environment and stuff like that, bird life and animal life and stuff like that, we talk about extinctions and stuff like that. Well, potentially that can happen in a fire. So there's so many issues around that we need to make better. And the AI cameras can be one of that, but also having the right tools to do the job, so that instead of burning 10,000 hectares, we're only burning 2,000 hectares, because we've been able to put out the fire a lot quicker and a lot better. And probably the other thing I really want to note is that the volunteers did CFA volunteers an absolute power of work, but a lot of the private tankers were just farmers and community members actually got out and helped the CFA volunteers. And in a lot of cases, they outnumbered the volunteers. So, it's a real community effort. It's just, for the community, it's a long road back, but, we're resilient and we'll get there, but it does hurt.
It must also annoy you too, and because here in this building, when we hear the fire alarm, we don't move, because we know it's just someone cooking about 30 floors up in our, because we have half offices and the other half are many people who enjoy wok food, and let me tell you, the fire brigade is always busy. But it must annoy you though when you put out an evacuation order in a fire area, and humans being humans, some leave it a bit too late. How do we stop that? How do we get through to these people that the fire has got no care at all? It's just going to eradicate anything that's in front of them.
Yeah, look, you're 100% right, and people need to put in their action plans, and they need to know up front what those action plans are and when they go. And I think what a lot of people don't realise is exactly what you said: the intensity of the fire and the speed of the fire. It can happen so quickly. And then fires, it could be 30, 40 Ks away, but you don't realise that on bad days. It can be spotting 15, 20 Ks in front of itself. So, all of a sudden you think you're safe, and then all of a sudden you're engulfed in flames and it's gone past you. So I think people just need to plan their action plans, and you don't need to be the bravest man in the world. That's not going to save it at the end of the day if the fire's knocking at your front door. So, if you haven't got your plan right, you're better off to err on the side of safety and get out, and don't put other people's or firefighters and community people that go out trying to save you, don't put their safety at risk by not being prepared in those situations. So.
And also the governments, which is the Australian government and the state governments, their intention to destroy the planet to save it. We look at the wind turbines. We look at the Great Dividing Range. The wind turbines are going up, and it must make you feel very warm and fuzzy, because what we have is that when you put a wind turbine in a massive area of forest, and you erase the top of it, and then there's a fire, it makes it very hard for air support, doesn't it? Because you can't get that close to those turbines. If government goes ahead and plonks all these turbines in the windmills up and down the Great Dividing Range, that will make fire season of the past look quite tame to the future, because you'll have no air support.
Oh, look, and these are things that we're just not, the volunteer firefighters just don't treat it with any respect, and they don't get an option to talk about these. And the communities, basically, they just get whitewashed and pushed to the side. And we're the government. We think this is the right way to go, and we're going to do it regardless of what you think. So, I think the governments forget that it's the people in the communities that elect them and put them in. So, you're right, 100%. You're not going to have aerial support around wind turbines. If you've got transmission lines, there's going to be a safe distance. They've got to stay away from them, things like that. So you're just putting more parts of our state at risk in a bad fire zone, because you've got to wait till it gets out of that area before you can do anything. And now you add in the potential of batteries, backs and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying whether that's a good thing or not, but, the safety side of that and how close we can get to it and what do we do and how long it burns for, and then the fumes that are consumed into the atmosphere, is that where we want to be and how we want to live our lives down the track? I don't know, is this going to be an asbestos moment that we're going to be talking about 20 years down the track. Instead of James Hardy, is it going to be somebody else that's getting it?
And you're right though. They sweep it under the carpet, and it's. I always say that the politicians, and I think people, the good folk of the major cities, need to do a bit of an excursion every now and then, just to see what the bush is really like, and that the idea of saving the planet and destroying it in the interim is just not going to work. So I think government, and that's why I look at your alternative government. They're almost a Labor light when it comes to the renewables and stuff, and they're going to do the same thing. So if they do the same as the current government, what chance does Australia or Victoria have?
Yeah, look, who's actually running the country? You've got to start to wonder to yourself, is there somebody even above that says this is what we're doing, and doesn't matter who's in power, we're powering ahead with our action plans or whatever. So, this is where we want to be. We want to be in a place where whoever's in government is actually thinking of the people, not thinking of themselves or their hip pocket when they retire or whatever. There's 6 or 7 million people or whatever it is in Victoria. Why isn't the government thinking of them? And why aren't the things done for us? Because it's our money. It's not the politicians' money. The politicians say, well, I've given you free this and I've given you free that and I've given you free everything else. Well, no, you haven't. You've just given us back our money that you've taken off us through taxes. So nothing's free in this world. And if you want something, you've got to stand up and fight for it. And that's what we are doing as a group. But what we want is for people, all people throughout the state, to actually work out what's important and where they want their state to go, and then stand up and fight for that, because otherwise we're just going to get whatever the government's been told that they're going to give us, unfortunately.
Now let's talk transmission towers. Now, any progress with the government yet? You'll probably say no, but I'd just like to ask you, because I want to hear you say no.
I'll say no then. No, look, probably Ava's probably a better one to talk to around that. But look, I just don't think there's any common sense. They've got their mission, they're powering ahead with it for whatever reason. I'd love to know the real reason why. We'll never know. But like I said, is there a higher being that's forcing this upon us, and Victoria's the test case, or I don't know what. But I have my theories. I won't expand on them. But it comes back to the respect of the people. If they want to put transmission lines, why put them over the middle of people's farms? Can't they run them down the side of the road and bury them underground? They're not a fire risk. They're never seen again. It's not impacting people's livelihoods, their chance to grow food. Farmers are a resilient lot. They supply a lot of food, not only for Victorians, but Australians and the worldwide. Yet we're looking at taking some of the best agricultural land off them for whatever reason, and on a golden handshake that we're going to be better and we're going to have a safer, whatever, renewable future. Well, the jury's out on that, and let the people decide that. Don't ram it down our throats, because I don't think they've got it right.
No, well, they haven't, and it shows you that our education system has failed miserably. It's terrible. I mean, next they'll be believing in climate change. Oh, they do. I didn't know that. Now, the other thing that I was very disturbed with, this is just as a parting gesture. I used to, and I haven't got any of your songs here, but I will do that down the track. And I thought, wow, John's such a great musician. Listen to that guitar riff. His voice is stunning. You're a good songwriter. But can I ask you, can you play the guitar or piano? Can you actually sing? Because it's not you.
Well, I can play the guitar a little bit. I can play the piano a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to think I can sing, but in all honesty, it's the message that I'm really trying to sell. I've got 3 more songs ready to go, 2 rap ones and a bit of a rock one. I did listen to you. It's not Akadaka, but it's a really good one. But the two rap ones, I'm not a rap fan, but I wrote them and got them out there, and I'm really loving them. So I'll flick them onto you when they're on iTunes. But look, it's just another way of selling our message and getting the the point across. Just one thing I will add, if the wind turbine blokes want to actually add anything into the community, maybe they could put these AI cameras up on top of their wind towers, and the fairy dust can blow them around and they can spot everything that's coming up. Because, probably, in all honesty, I don't know how we're going to pay for so many AI cameras. Maybe this is a way that if we have to put up with the wind towers, maybe the companies could finance them a little bit and maybe help us save a bit of the CFA volunteers' work.
I just got a message from a wind turbine company. They said, "What a great idea, but don't call us.
We'll call you."
If somebody wants to hear your music, first of all, how do they do that?
So get on. It's on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. So just look under my name. There is another John Houston. So I'm not unique. There is another John Houston, but he's an American singer. So you'll have to look for the real John Houston. That might be a bit of a cliche to the new rap song that I've got. So you might just have to look up the real John Houston. I think there's 4 out at the moment. There'll be another 3, or 1 will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and another 2 straight after that. So, yeah.
Now, one more thing. This is a celebrity game now, a music celebrity game. What's your favourite rock song, Australian rock song of all time?
No Second Prize by Jimmy Barnes or Working Class Man. Yeah, either one of those two.
Working Class Man's written by Jonathan Cain, I think it was, from the used to be with the Babies and then with Journey.
Yeah, well, you could be right, but Jimmy Barnes sung it really well. I do love AC/DC. Look, I'm probably not one of those hard and fast people. I do.
Angels.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I know. Look, I'm an old rocker. Yeah, I think we'd have a lot of fun in a bar. I reckon
we would. We'd be carried away by the constabulary. Hopping to the back of the car and going down to the local and have a chat to us. But I think we would have a great time. I can't sing either. I'm not saying that you can't, but I think
we'll put earmuffs on and then we'll have a ball.
It'd be fantastic. My wife will disown me. John Houston, it's always a pleasure. It's been way too long, and I have to say I've had a ball chatting. I think we have some serious issues in Victoria, and I think Victorians sort of need to do less of the ostrich act, and they need to pull their head out of the sand and look around you and start asking questions, because the next election, and by the way, I have no faith in the LNP for the next one because I think they're too much like Labor Party. But if they don't win, then they should give it away. And I think Victoria, unless you look at One Nation, and they're still not going to be strong enough to get in, but they might impact a bit. But we've lost our way, and I think people need to move from the cities, pop out to the bush for a weekend, spend some money there, do good for the local economy, and find out what the bush is all about. Because if you affect the country of, say, Victoria, it will affect the city to no end, and we need to look after the bush first. That's my opinion anyway.
No, you're 100% right, and if you don't, you're also affecting the rest of Australia in some form as well. So, no, you're all over it. The governments just need to listen, regardless of who they are. But that's our point. We're hammering them. We're meeting the Nationals next week to have a bit of a conversation with them around where we want to go and how much they can support what we're doing. But we've got some pretty good things in place, and we'll be handing out a scorecard basically on every candidate throughout the state. It'll be the little green firemen. So the more green firemen on the scorecard, they're the ones that are supporting the CFA volunteers. And at the end of the day, CFA volunteers are your community, and they love their community. That's why they do what they do. And they do it for nothing. And sometimes they do it for a big kick in the guts behind the scenes that we don't know about. So
pretty tough, isn't it? The world is a very unforgiving place. John Houston, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
this is the Country Telegraph. That's it for me today. We got through the whole thing. It was touch and go at one stage, and Houston, we did have a problem, and we got there. So thank you for your time. Be kind to your neighbours, by the way. Be good to yourself. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Same bale of hay, same phone box. This is the Country Telegraph.